Alright guys, I'm back. Third series of the night. Let's hope those trios are done by now. I've had enough of it. It's Friday night. The occasional trio can happen. Back-to-back trios rubs me the wrong way. Let's give Bully a call and see A, if he has an explanation for this performance so far, and B, if it starts becoming a whole lot better. Yeah, I actually spelled his name wrong in the exclamation mark caster. But guys, whenever somebody asks, I obviously cannot talk to chat as much as I normally do when I have co-casters, because I want to listen to my co-caster and I don't want to hijack the conversation all the time. But if somebody asks, just know that exclamation mark caster works. Let's give Bully a call. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. How are we doing?
Well, Bully. It could have been a whole lot better, mate. What is this?
Listen, in my defense, two things. Two things. One, I think if I pulled ATP ahead of the Takua Revo series, very few, if anyone, would have picked Revo to 3-0 Takua. That I genuinely was very surprised. And based on the timing that he left some of those games, I think you can understand why. Yes.
I mean, the first one is like, oh, I wish you would have tried. The second one was like, mate, you should try. And the third one is like, oh, come on, what are we doing? Like,
yeah,
that was an intra GG, legit.
I think if that game 3 was first, he stays in. I think he probably was frustrated based on the first 2 games. But yeah, very unexpected. The second thing I'll say is I can think off the top of my head, at least, of maybe 4 or 5 BBBs that have started off with 2 3-0s in the
91
past.
weeks, huh? Okay, so that's 89 tries.
That's just what I can think of off the top of my head. I'm just saying it's not impossible. I agree that the Goblin Anticore series is, to be very generous, let's call it an unfortunate set of circumstances. But I think we're going to turn it around right here.
I hope so, mate. I think it's possible. If this would have happened like 12 months ago, 18 months ago, I would have been like, that's maybe questionable matchmaking, because I do believe that Amen from Denmark is going to be a little bit too good. But obviously things have changed. He's been less active. I think our Italian Protoss has been damn active throughout the last 12 months. And on top of that, Protoss is on the up and up. Stonks are rising. So I think I'm with you. It should be close. It should be fun. It should be competitive.
I think so too. Spacy definitely a little bit favored here, but I believe in our boy Azura to pull out some of the meme strats. Maybe he's been talking to the other Italians.
Let's do it, mate. Let's introduce the nerds. In the top right side, at this point, I would say one of the many good Italian Protoss players out there. There was a time where I couldn't really think of one. These days, a lot of activity coming out of our Italian Protoss nerds. I love it. This is BB EX Azura. Definitely not his first rodeo in the Big Brain Bouts.
And in the bottom left, my goat, your goat, maybe the most handsome Danish pro player of all time. It is Spazymazy.
Great guy. And a big football fan as well. Always rooting for his boys from Copenhagen.
I think in the absolute worst case scenario where he 3-0s Azura here, I can still get a little bit of revenge if he goes to Home Story Cup, and I can Brexit tackle the shit out of him during the Home Story Cup soccer match.
I heard Bums is coming to Home Story Cup as well. I actually ran into him on the ladder yesterday, and he said 1v1, the loser has to buy the other guy a beer. I was like, all right, mate. I love it. I love seeing... Oh, my mouse is dead, by the way. But this happens sometimes, and it will hopefully come back in a couple seconds. I always get a bit scared. Mate, I have no cursor. I can't do anything. Hello?
At least it's happening now, and not when you are dropping off the zip line in a lane against Bebop and Lash.
Okay, so the weird thing is that I could scroll, I could zoom in, and I could zoom out, but my cursor was just gone for like 5 seconds. It happens often when I feel like I press the middle mouse button too much, but there is no notification, there's no pop-up, it's not telling me that I'm doing something I'm not supposed to be doing. It's very weird, because I love this mouse. I use a glorious Model D Pro, and it's the first mouse in forever that I would actually say, hey, ever since I loved the old school Death at a Chroma, This is the mouse that I'm actually happy with, that I enjoy playing Starcraft with. I'm good with in other games as well. Yeah, this issue is a bit weird. I didn't have it in the first year or so that I used it, but lately I've been having it.
And you're using it wired, right?
Yeah, I'm using it with a wire. Even though, like, it is wireless. Maybe I should, because I did play with a wireless mouse for a while, and at that point I was like, man, I love it. I finally get where all the nerds always rave about wireless mouse. But this wire is honestly kind of chill, and unless it gets stuck around the edge of my mousepad, it never ever bothers me. And then I feel like, well, then I may as well make life easier and just use it as a wired mouse.
Could be, you know, I'm not Sal, so I'm not going to speculate. Could be a lot of things, but yeah, I've used some of the glorious mice in the past. I do like them. By the way, the Void Ray first out of the Stargate here from Azura is I think a nice little way to kind of switch it up. There's a lot of things that Protoss can do if they're denying vision with the Overlord from the Overlord with that Void Ray. So I'll be interested to see what tech buildings he drops, probably on the right side of the main here after this Overlord dies.
In the past, I felt that Spazymazy was always a bit of a muta enjoyer. Do you think he's still a muta enjoyer,
He is
or
definitely still a muta enjoyer?
Okay. So any game there is a real possibility for it. There's a chance we see it.
Yeah, I actually just recently on stream reviewed a game that he played against Hapsaya. He's been playing on his Spacey, that is, on his Monkey Man account. And I think I probably saw him make upwards of 30 or 40 mutas in that game. So it's definitely still a very, very real possibility.
I played a couple games of the SC2 Evo mod against Statfest. He was making mutas as well. I didn't have Phoenix, man. I was worried. It's like, yeah, they say you make Corsairs, but I don't know about these Brood War Stargate units. They don't quite seem as good as the Starcraft 2. Well, we're even pulling the probes out of the gases. Azura! Cheeky Kalaras over here in game 1. Look at this.
Yes, maybe some kind of charge all in. And this, I think this has good potential to catch the Zerg off guard, especially if they're kind of trying to play, you know, a little bit more of a normal game where they're trying to avoid making as many roaches as they can. They want to spend that on drones, obviously. And perhaps even better, honestly, if you catch Spacey going into mutas, because there's definitely a window where all those resources are being sunk somewhere else that you can kind of get the damage that you need.
And
But,
Spacey is
like
going
Spacey's...
+1 melee Zerglings, mate. Like that is...
yeah.
That is very, very rough. Now, the good news is for Spazymazy, I guess, that Azura is not doing this with a Forge. So the Zealots will not have +1, so they don't two-shot Zerglings. But there is still a chance that the fight happens, while the Zerglings don't have any upgrades either yet. And even then, by the time they do finally have upgrades, like a couple Zealots is something you can deal with. But if it's like 16 or 20 Zealots, I don't know how you deal with that with just Zerglings and Queens. Bare minimum, I'd say we need a couple Banelings, and even that is somewhat unreliable. And he's still droning. Oh my god, he has fired up 8 drones. Our Danish Zerg is in trouble. It seems to be a rough night for the Danish Zergies so far. This has gotta get very, very, very rough. And he's still droning. He's up to 61. What are we doing?
Oh, he's going to realize what's happening now as the Zealots charge out of the natural. He sees the Prism on the edge of Creep Warping and Zealots as well. So he really needs to have a all hands on deck defense here. And I think it's possible, but he needs these roaches to hit the field as soon as possible.
That is so many Zealots. Yeah, Spazymazy, if he pulls off some next level Zerg micro, tries to keep the Queens alive for as long as humanly possible, a couple of transfuses. Ideally, we need a choke point, right? Like, we need some sort of a way that only a couple of Zealots at once are fighting. We can get value out of the fact that our units are ranged. At this point, I don't see a lot of value out of the fact that these Zerg units are ranged. That Prism is quite deep as well. And Azura is even going for the Roach War and says, why the hell not? Not sure if that's the best choice, because by the time that these 7 extra roaches come out, we have 17 roaches. I think that's kind of enough. After that, you can always go back to Zerglings. So far, in a weird way, I want to say it's almost starting to look like a bit overhauled, but that Void Ray is still alive. The Queens have now all died, and that means there's no real answer anymore for the Void Rays. And then the extra Zealots should be good enough for Azura.
Yeah, an underrated part of this all in is that Void Ray. Once the Queens are gone, it's just so much free DPS, and he catches Spacey about as perfectly as he could with the Zealot all in and takes a pretty convincing game number 1 on Frostline.
Yep, the power of that Void Ray first, right? We talk about it, we know it, the Zergs know it too. that if they go up against Void Ray first, that it could be something cheeky. But because Protoss players very often go Void Ray first into nothing mega spectacular or weird, it's not like, oh, Void Ray first, all alarm bells go off, like maybe it would have been a little while ago. These days it's quite common to go Void Ray first and just hide the fact that you're building not one but two oracles, or that you're macroing very hard, that you feel very safe against roach pressure as well. Yeah, it can obviously always be one of these old school dirty Protoss tactics where we pull the workers out of the gases, and it's not just 6 or 8, but it's even 10 gateways all at once. Well done by Azura, honestly pretty clean. Bit of an annoying one for Spazymazy, but also the kind of game that if I would lose against that, I'm annoyed about the fact that I lost against it, but I'm also not annoyed as in like, wow, I got completely outplayed here. This guy's so good, there's nothing I can do, right? It's a bit of a strategical loss.
Yeah, I think this is a build that if it hits maybe even 30 seconds later, probably struggles. Azura did very well to deny the vision, just kind of hit the crisp timings that he needed to, and just goes to show, I think at this level, especially once you start getting up into that 5-5, 5-6 range, how games are decided on very tight margins, and maybe one round fewer drones, maybe roaches a little bit earlier, and Spacey could pull it off.
Top right side of ley lines. We're looking at the main base of the man who's going to try to save the honor of all the beautiful Vikings out there, because it has not been the night of Denmark yet. And I'm not even talking about their football team that is very used to receiving a beating. But it's 0-4 for the Danish Zergies. Can we stop the bleeding? It's Spazymazy.
And in the bottom left, the fourth most real Italian in all things Protoss. It is Azura. Up 1-0.
Pool first on the side of our Danish Zerg. Wonder why we're going pool first. Azura does not have much of a reputation as a cannon rusher. I don't think I've ever seen him cannon rush. I'm sure he's tried it. Every Protoss player has gone through a little cannon phase. Some people are stuck in the phase and it's lasting a lifetime, but Azura, I think, not too known for doing very weird early game 1-base stuff, so wonder why Spazymazy wants to go pool first here.
Yeah, I think this is probably better for Spacey in the sense that, you know, throwing off your opponent early often is going to be what lets a Zerg feel a little bit more comfortable. And he's definitely at the level where I think he can play some builds that are aggressive but not sort of over the line. Obviously, Zergs kind of have a tough time going all in against Protoss in this day and age, but something just to kind of put the tempo on your side and then move into the next phase of the game where you maybe are hiding a little bit of information from your opponent because they've had to dedicate so much of their time and attention back home can often be worthwhile.
So going back to the storyline of Bully obviously trying to stop the trios over here. Azura taking the 1-0 lead. Does that give us like extra confidence because Spazymazy was a tiny bit of a favorite coming into this best of 5?
I think it's hard to say since it was a little bit of an all-in from Azura, but I do think that if I was going to choose what would be the best outcome for my reputation and my anxiety around the trios, certainly this is a good start.
By the way, I completely forgot, but thank you so much to Foucault Spendulum for giving us 5 subbies. I believe Twitch is running a bit of a discount until the end of March. It's not quite as spectacular as that jackpot discount they had a while ago. But I do really appreciate the love, mate. Sorry that I'm not very quick, guys, in giving out shoutouts. Sometimes I'll write something. But obviously, if we have people on voice with us, we're going to focus on the game, on the casting, and a little bit less on the interactions with chat. But just know that the love is always appreciated. I do see it, and it always makes me happy, even if it doesn't get called out immediately. We've got a Stargate and a shield battery coming online for Azura at home. Spazymazy just kind of heading towards Zergling speed. Don't think we're going to see another +1 melee opening. I feel like +1 melee openings are a little bit fancy and obviously is a thing, especially against like the Blink Stalker Oracle stuff. A lot of Zergs do love having their +1 melee links. But it also just always feels you're suddenly a bit vulnerable. Well, Zergs shouldn't be that vulnerable in the very early game, unless we're talking about like Immortals and Sentries that can be very gnarly. Against the basic units, we shouldn't be that vulnerable, but if we go down the path of, hey, let's invest in the Devo Chamber, let's invest in +1 melee Zerglings, it does feel like that window where we shouldn't be vulnerable, but we are suddenly becomes a whole lot larger.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I'm surprised to see Azura actually going back to the Void Ray first opener here. The Roach Warren obviously is a little bit faster here for Spazy. He might be trying to play things a little bit more defensively, but a little bit of a misplaced Nexus there. If Azura was a certain French player, I might have called that a moment, but because it's him, I'll just say that's an oopsie.
The French player that likes to play Deadlock as well.
One of those, yes, certainly one of those.
I heard we have a big match happening. Arniac is organizing the ultimate Cobble versus Roddy Deadlock show match. I mean,
you gotta be careful. These Zoomers are there's something else in Deadlock.
Oh come on, you're not afraid of them, are you? You know you're on my team, right, Bully? Like you're gonna have to be on the squad. We're not gonna lose to Cobble in this boy. We're not losing to him in Starcraft. We ain't losing to him in Deadlock. Come on now.
Listen, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but those 19, 20-year-old Europeans who wake up at 3 p.m., they got hands. You gotta be careful.
In everything, huh?
Yeah. In everything, yeah. There's something about people who never see the sunrise that just powers them up in esports.
I'm still not afraid, mate. Sure, the night belongs perhaps to the young video gamers out there, but if we just find a good time for that match, old men can game too, baby.
I won't give up hope. I won't give up. I still believe. I still believe.
So do I. We do have Blink on the way this time, so what Spazy probably would have loved to play against in game one is kind of what's happening over here. Azura with a mistake there as the Oracle just flew over the triangle. 4 queens and a Spore Crawler there. Made very short work of that Oracle. He was building, I think, an additional shield battery.
Yeah. He was building 2 and actually canceled both. I'm surprised that he made those batteries in the first place. I'm not really sure what he saw to make him think that that was necessary. I'm even more surprised that he canceled it after losing the Oracle. Seems like the order of operations there's a little bit backwards, but...
Yeah, I guess he was initially worried about maybe even some sort of a queen walk, but then he said, nope, that ain't happening. I don't have to worry about that. So I don't need to invest my money in the extra aesthetic defenses at this point. Couple of links in stock here for Spazy, but that's not too bad. Also gives him an idea of what's happening on the other side of the map. Sort of like a permanent scout that you can rely on. He has roamed up very slowly this game. Like we can actually see him sitting on a few too many minerals as well. 1,000 minerals, 6.5 minutes in. It's just a little bit too much. Yeah, maybe that first game put some fear into him. It's like, oh come on, I don't want to play one of these series. Because best of 5s, in theory, could be long, could be grueling. But everyone has also been on the wrong end of a best of 5, where it was literally over before you felt like you played one real game. And I guess Spazy wanted to make damn sure that that didn't happen.
Yeah, I think so. I think that the interesting thing here that's going on for Azura is that he's going for the sort of like Blink +1 style, but it's honestly a bit later than I think it needs to be to do something like kill the 4th phase, which is usually the goal with those types of pushes. And so he may just be kind of, sitting a little bit longer, hoping to get Storm before he pushes here. You can see that the +1 is not done yet, and it really feels a lot better to push with +1 with those big Blink Stalker armies. He is loading up High Templar into the Prism now, and Storm will be done in just about 30 seconds here. So looks like it might be a Storm Blink Stalker combo here, trying to get some damage. But just as expected, there's that Spire on the way for Spazy, who's also starting to bank up quite a bit of gas in anticipation of the Muta switch.
Yeah, he already has minerals for days, so if all of these extractors start going up and running as well, this man is not going to show up with 10 or 12 mutas. I mean, he's going to show up with 20. You'll get a kiss as well, J-Money. It was originally meant for Vicky. Vicky was gone for a while. Went shopping. I never know what Vicky gets when she comes home. I'm always hoping for Pokemon cards, you know. In some ways, you never grow up. I'm now 37. When I was 11, I hope my mom went to the store, came back with Pokemon cards. Now I'm 37, and I'm always like, babe, did you get some cards for me? Most of she's like, no, but it's all right. Azura moving out has to be careful because, as we said, it's not going to be 9 mutas, it's not going to be 10, it's going to be a whole lot more. Whoa, the Blink is a little bit crazy. He does have a couple storms, but Zerglings can still get on top of these Stalkers, can still get on top of the High Templars. Does warp in some extra units. Wow, he's crazy with the Blinks. Azura is one hell of a confident boy.
Yeah, I think this has got a lot of potential to work here, despite a couple of Blancs early in the fight, because these Mutas obviously are going to have such a tough time fighting straight up. They go straight for the Prism to try to deny reinforcements, and it looks like that is successful. The Surround taking out a few units as well on the retreat. Not exactly what Azura was looking for with this attack, and now the mutas represent a major threat.
Yeah, I think we got a bit excited. And I agree with you. At first, it honestly looked kind of good, even if it was crazy, but it worked well. But he should have morphed those High Templars into Archons immediately. Now we just had 4 High Templars deep on creep with no energy to storm. So it's pointless. And then obviously the Zerg doesn't have to worry about them because it takes a little while before those High Templars become Archons. And this is where I would say life becomes hell for the Protoss. You have a couple Stalkers, but you already lost so many Stalkers, and the Muta count is going to be outrageously high. There are a few more big storms landing on slow Banelings, but Mutas get on top of low HP Stalkers. Bully, for the first time tonight, we may say the magical words. We're all tied up.
Normally a caster isn't supposed to say a thing like this, but I've never been happier to see an Italian lose than I am right now. I'm totally redeemed.
Yeah, Spazy's looking very good here. The macro was very cautious in this game, but in the end he got away with it. Azura didn't really, I think, expect this many Mutas. Might have to do something with the fact that he lost that Oracle as early as he did. But above all, it's a bit of that classic overconfidence on the side of the Protoss, where it's like, we're fighting on the edge of creep. Oh, we made a couple good blinks, we saved a couple units, we dropped the juicy storms. Like, that's it, right? Full speed ahead. But getting deeper and deeper on creep is something you always have to think twice about.
Yeah, I think in the same way that Special says they never see the Cloaked Banshees coming, Spazy says the same thing about Mutas. I think if there was anything Azura thought was going to happen in this series, it would be Mutalisks, and yet we see him still caught off guard. There's something magical about the always Muta playstyle.
Yeah, and it's sad because, that start of the fight really wasn't all that bad. Even if it felt a bit reckless and crazy, it wasn't bad. And he even saved those 4 High Templars. If he just stays on the edge of creep, if he waits for an Observer or a Revelation, whatever, to just push that creep back, you start the next fight with 2 Archons, you warp in a few more High Templars, they get energy as well, then it actually becomes so much more difficult for Spazymazy to find a good engagement. Because we can't just run all of our Lings and Mutalisk head first into a couple Archons with Warp Prism support and Stalkers and maybe a Neostorm. Now, as a Zerg, you don't really need to be methodical about how do you engage that army. But if it's just 4 High Templars with no energy deep into the middle of nowhere, a sea of creep, yeah, then it becomes easy. All those Zerglings spawn from 4 different hatcheries, the immediate surround. Azura just got a tiny bit ahead of himself. These things happen.
Yeah, I think a slightly different engagement looks a little bit different. I think sometimes, counterintuitively, the best thing you can do with those Blink Stalker pushes is be patient. And I think he just felt a little bit under the gun to kind of go before Spazy got the defense up that he needed. That's usually the interaction, because the average Zerg player isn't making 20 mutas behind his roaches. So a slight adjustment and it might have looked different, but we're all tied up 1 apiece.
What the hell is this map? Is this a tribute to Magnuth? Do not tell me that Magnuth got a map before I did.
It sure is.
Unbelievable scenes. Maganatha? You kidding me over here? Magnuth, this pleb, he got a map named after him before me. What more do I have to do, bully? Where is RotterdaM?
Honestly, I think we could make a compelling case for you. Hyper One likes to make free-for-all maps named after previous Beast of the Hill winners. And this map was a little bit of a tribute to Magnath, one of the rare 1v1 maps named after a player. I think if we maybe host one more Beast of the Hill, I bet we could get a Roddy map out of Hyper One.
I mean, I think Hyper One and Roddy get along perfectly fine, so that shouldn't be the issue. And I don't know what the qualifications are, but if Magnath qualifies, then I don't know what he would ever have over me, bully.
That's a good question. I think, honestly, half of the reason that this map is named after Magnath is just because it is linked to a meme where someone posted an AI-generated photo of Magnath with long hair, and that became his female alter ego, which was not helped by a photo that Magnath likes to share of himself as a child, where he has a perm like a middle-aged woman. Okay. So, yeah, there's a little bit of meme backstory to this map, as there are in many situations in ATP.
I am not familiar with any of those memes. I am familiar with Magnath, and for all the teasing I do, he is a very handsome young man. Not very good at Starcraft, but he's a very good-looking young man. Well-spoken, sweet, intelligent. Honestly, he has a lot. outside of Protoss skills, but you can't have it all in life, eh, Bully?
That's true. It's true. He's having a tough time against the Zergs last night, so maybe we need some Magnath PVZ boot camps from the ATP boys.
Oh, I know an Oklahoma Zerg who's ready for a rematch.
I'm sure. This particular Zerg was more of like the 4-3 variety, but maybe some J Money show matches, some customs might do him good.
Alright guys, top left side, Italian Protoss, BBEX Azura got a win on the board with all the gates, no gas mining. Unfortunately got a tiny bit excited in the second game and his stalkers went a bit too deep. Bottom right side, it is our Danish Zerg player showing us that after all these years he is still a lover of the Muda. This is BBEX Spazymazy.
I think it'll be interesting to see how these players use the map. It is obviously quite unique. You can see sort of an unorthodox base layout in many ways. There's some gold bases next to the Zelnaga watchtowers that have to be destroyed by the collapsible tower, which then causes you to clear the rocks. So a lot of interesting things could happen here. But now that I'm saying this, of course, I'm sure both players will just do some kind of totally random all in and make sure that none of the unique features are utilized here.
This map seems very large, no? Or
it is quite large, yes, for sure.
Definitely
Yeah,
not Let's Shade once and we're on the other side of the map. The center feels a little larger than ley lines, for instance.
Yeah, that's true. It is compressed slightly on like the top side because of the speed zones that exist, but yeah, certainly quite a large map. Definitely a lot of potential for longer games that can get split diagonally on this map. But I think we included it in the map pool for ATL not only because obviously it references an ATP member, not just because it is made by one of ATP's active resident map makers, but also because I think we just want to see how it is the games get played here. It's different in a lot of ways than most of the maps that make the ladder pool, and this did obviously make it into the finalists for the last Team Liquid map contest. So a lot of things that are interesting about this one.
So I asked Gemini a little bit about his history with all things Protoss, but what about yours, Bully? How long have you been active in the all things Protoss community?
Well, I was a lurker for years in ATP, but around the time that the Team League Season 1 started, I kind of started to get a little bit more involved. I played on a team, didn't help organize it in Season 1, but after Season 1, I was just completely and totally hooked. I was on Gemini's team in Season 2 and started to help out with some administrative things. Began casting on the B stream in Season 3 and just really got heavily involved in it. And I just have never looked back. That was in maybe 2020, 2020 or 21 that ATL Season 1 was played, and just got me hooked. I mean, a lot of people organize great community leagues around the scene, but I do not think it's an exaggeration in the slightest to say that the All Things Protoss Team League is the best community league in Starcraft, just because of how involved everyone gets. People love coming up with team names, team logos. There are a lot of people in the community who basically only stream during the ATL season just because of how much they love it. And it's really a community effort. Everyone comes together to lend their graphic design skills, their video editing skills. We have a community member, Karathos from Greece, who puts together highlight packages for every week. Puts together meme videos to showcase some of the funniest or greatest plays. It really is honestly the highest production value community event in the scene.
Yeah. I've seen a bit of that in the past. No, like I love how Gemini, I think he had his entire Katowice desk set up, and then he would put faces of you guys on top of the body of Artosis, Tasteless, and me, and then you even have like the Katowice ticker at the bottom, but then it's modified into all things Protoss stuff. Which is, yeah, I was actually surprised. I was like, damn, you guys put a lot of effort into this. Let's talk a little bit about this game, because Spazymazy had an excellent time with his Zerglings. He kept on denying a single probe from warping in that Nexus. He did that incredibly good. But then he also got a little bit worried. He was like, wait a minute, I don't see anything yet. Is this another dirty all-in? And it absolutely isn't, because it's double Stargate. And now he's just going to show up with all these links once more. The Void Ray was in the middle of nowhere. This is bad news for Azura. Our Italian Protoss is in trouble because he doesn't want to reveal the Phoenixes, and I don't know if you even should, but what he definitely can afford to do is to lose this Nexus bully. He uses energy recharge, but honestly I'm starting to believe that the Zerglings, if they just go for it, they don't go for it. Could have potentially gotten it, but regardless, a successful attack. Phoenixes now, for the first time, will make their way to the other side of the map. He says, I lost to Mudas once. That's not happening again. If I was Spazymazy, I snap cancel that Spire. That's what he does. Drops the Hydra then immediately.
Yeah, very well done. The irony of course, being here that had Azura had hidden these Phoenixes for a little bit longer, they actually would have been better, but I think Spacy's making the right call. Going Hydra, definitely the correct play. He's going to be able to defend Azura, that is, this third base now, but I'm still worried about his potential to kind of get enough counter damage done to offset the tempo that he's lost in the beginning stages of this game. These Lings, you know, relatively cheap, and obviously the Protoss is going to struggle to rein in the Zerg a little bit. As I'm saying that, though, we didn't have a very high drone count to begin with.
Oh, that's so many links, though. That is so many links. No, the drone count is problematic. Like, if Spazy doesn't get something big going for himself, then unless he wins with the first Hydra attack, he's actually in serious trouble. But what he does have is still just so many Zerglings. They've got +1 melee. They're going for everything, even the gas. I don't know about the gas, maybe the Nexus, the shield battery, all of that is good. He's gonna get it, the Danish Zerg. Even surrounds to Immortal. Phoenixes could live the Immortal. Come on, baby, you know you want to do it. And Azura will do that. But yeah, it's a shame he took so much damage. Like, if he would have just been able to reduce the surface area a tiny bit on that Nexus, the game, in a weird way, wasn't even that bad. Because he could have even dropped the Robo Bay, right? He already has double Robo. And sure, that's expensive, but you already have it. So at that point, you may as well. And a single Colossus is a real game changer against a Hydra attack, especially when it's only lair attack Zerg. Now it's just, I want to say it's weird. It should always be bad. He's building a Twilight Council. I mean, call me crazy, but I really think a Robo Bay is better here, man.
Yeah, I agree, especially when you know that Hydras are the choice that the Zerg is made to defend against these Phoenix. Colossus really have the potential to do quite a bit, and that's another reason why I don't really like the fact that we're spending so much on Immortals here, because Ling Hydra is not the composition that's going to struggle with Immortals, that is for sure.
Now, the Phoenixes can obviously be good against the Hydras as long as we pay attention and we don't fly over it. Oh, no, I don't like this fight. No. I do not like this fight. We're going to need a little bit more. Sometimes Immortals, because they are just tanky, they can be somewhat useful. Maybe with shield battery support. Like, it's not an impossible hold for Azura. Not at all, no, even. Especially not if you just find the right angle to lift these Hydras one by one. Azura, Immortals, Zealots, Phoenixes. He's going to hold here, bully. Well done.
He does. I think Spacy made a big mistake going into that just because the surface area was so good for Azura in that situation. The Lings struggled to get anything done. The battery in the back doing a lot of healing. You can see it's got no energy left. And what that really means is that it did a tremendous amount of work saving those units. And so now, this I think is the most comfortable that Azura has been in this game. The problem for him is going to be to navigate the next stage where he needs to kind of knock the Zerg off this strong economy that they've got going. 20 worker lead and a 5th base on the way will be problematic for the Protoss if something isn't done.
Yeah, it's weird because they have different things going for themselves right now. Spacy is gonna rebuild that spy he once upon a time cancelled. I think if Spacy, instead of attacking with like 11 Hydras, if you attack with 25, then I think the burst damage is just so high that every Protoss unit melts and gets in range. But because he went with the in-between, he allowed Azura to take a dream fight. And a dream fight it was, but Spacy was droning up during all of that, and Azura was obviously all hands on deck, which he kind of had to. Right. And now we're just in a bit of a weird spot where Immortal Storm very, very good against lair attack Zerg. There are no Banelings, but the economy screams Spazymazy, the tech screams Azura. Azura's even adding another Stargate and a fleet beacon as he's gonna lose even more Phoenixes. Bully, why does he hate his Phoenix so much?
Yeah, this is not good. I think actually we've we've unironically reached the stage of the game where if Spacey now makes mutas, it actually kind of becomes
No,
good again.
no, get out of
Because
here.
I think what's about to happen is that
No.
we're going to see carriers come out.
You can't go mutas. Going mutas
I think
against...
you'd be surprised.
No, you cannot go mutas here. If he goes mutas, I am... I'm ending it. I'm done with tonight. I'm done with all things Protoss. You cannot go mutas here.
Oh, it's actually going to be Tempest. I like that much more
my
than carriers.
God. He goes
Oh, what
6
did I say? Oh my god, who called it immediately?
It's triple
16,
Stargate.
18 mutas.
It's triple Stargate Fleet Beacon. Like, this is so risky. Like, it's cool,
Oh,
but
Roddy.
it's so risky.
Ye of little faith, Spacey is my goat for
No,
a
I
reason, and
know that he can do it. Don't get. I didn't mean as in like he can go mutas because he'll never go mutas. It's just like that's so insane to me when you know that the guy had 10 Phoenix with +1 air weapons. I assume he clicked on it once. Like this is just so risky, and it might work, but it might also just be an Omega troll. Because all you really need is to build a couple Phoenix, and you get any impulse crystals, and you're just flying.
I think I've seen enough Spacey games to know that the fates have ordained that he wins this game. As soon as he gets 20 mutas, I think something in the code changes and he's no longer able to lose. He loses all the Phoenix immediately. What did I tell you?
Yeah, well, that's also not quite supposed to happen. The thing is, Azura will still probably have an army, right? I assume that... Oh, he's got so many Immortals. Well, Immortals are not going to kill mutas. The Stargates are on power. There is one more Stargate here. Can we land a big fat storm? Archon storm, then storm. We sort of storm. More storms. Another one. We need to storm. Oh, we have so many High Templars there, by the way. We are now building 3 Phoenix at a time. Let's fire up any Impulse Crystals.
Yeah, range really here would be incredibly important here for the Protoss. It just makes the margin of error so much bigger for the Protoss player, but I think that we're unfortunate. Oh, the storms on the Banelings are massive. Spacey does need to be a little bit cautious here. This ground army is really not what he needs to engage. I think we need to spend more time being cautious with the mutas, and he loses almost everything.
Yeah, now it's a couple of Hydras left, and those 20 Mutalisks have now dwindled into 5-10 HP mutas, and that is why I said you cannot go mutas here. Spacey did not care. He went for it anyway. He believed it is Omega risky. It was cool. And now I'm afraid that it's back to the drawing board. I just don't see. Like, maybe if you play against the Protoss, that is just ultra bad in splitting up his army. That is ultra bad in storming. But it's so crazy to go mutas here. Azura fires up any Impulse Crystals now. And as long as we keep on moving our Phoenixes a little bit, I think Spacey has legit thrown, man, with this mass muta play. It's cool, but I think it's silly.
I think, actually, that if Spacey spent a little bit more time just waiting, biding his time, and using the mutas to harass and deny, Azura
pylon
the
after
comfort.
pylon, right? One Phoenix comes out, jump on it immediately, and whatever you do, avoid the High Templars at all costs.
Losing probably 25 Banelings to the Storms for free was definitely not the move. I think that was a big problem for him. And now that Azura is going to finish range here momentarily, it's just going to be such an uphill climb for him to get this to work.
3 Corruptors just flew over Archons, Cannons, Batteries, and High Templar. Tempest. So we had 4 Corruptors, guys. Now we've got 0, and I think this is the end of all these mutas. I think Spacey needs to know that as well. Once purple lasers make it onto the battlefield, please, for the love of everything, stop building mutas. One hell of a play. Probably not quite a play, but I do agree with you that since the surprise element was so big, and he did unpower 2 out of 3 Stargates, if he just focuses on running away and basically always attacking the one spot where Azura is not, he had a chance. But he just kind of went for it, like rather early. He's like, I baited out a couple storms, and maybe he thought those were all the storms. Now he's gonna run in with so many links and base, but it is raining side storms, and that is a sea of Zerg blood. Ay caramba.
Yeah, we just lost way too many mutas. 40 of them, in fact. 4,000 minerals and gas. I mean, that's just too many resources to lose without much to show for it at this point. Despite the fact that we obviously do have quite a few bases here and the supplies look relatively even, I think that's very misleading. The only thing I think that probably gives Spacey, a little bit of hope here is the idea that it's only 58 probes, and there's just now a 5th base going down for Azura. So both of those things do mean that he has to kind of sit a little bit longer, but unfortunately the strength of the army that he's sitting on is very high, and this small Zealot run by did just clean up 12 drones.
Azura's just chilling, eh? He's like, you know what? It's fine. My economy can be tiny. I've got cannons, I've got batteries, and I've got storms. And don't forget, he still has a lot of immortals. Like, how many immortals? We still have 7. Okay, now we have 39 Hydras, by the way. That is so many Hydras. The drone count has dwindled a little after we lost a bunch of drones to a few Zealots in the bottom left. We're going to try to get a few extra. The Mama ship is coming out as well. Kind of feel that Spacey is just doing a little bit of everything at this point. He's like, so what should I build here? Honestly, I'm always a fan of Lurkers here. Yes, there are tempers. Yes, the immortal count is high. I just believe in Lurkers more than I believe in Ultras against this many immortals and Archons.
Yeah, it's hard to know, what it is that he's supposed to do. He's obviously a little bit under the gun here. He's going to choose to add on some Ultras here, which will give the army a little bit more vitality, I guess. But I mean, again, like you said, with 7 immortals on the field with Tempests here as well, even Ultralisks are certainly going to struggle. I don't think we can afford to throw away these Hydralisks at the linear 3rd base either. There's just no good options here for the Zerg.
We don't even have Hydra Dash. I think Hydra Dash could make the difference, Bully.
I think if he had Hydra Dash, you're right. He could dash even faster into storms.
And it would look very cool for us.
So cool.
Adrenal glands 80% on. It's Hydras and Lynx looking for a surround, but then sized up that army. Is like, wait a minute, that is a surround that we really don't want, because the Protoss could be AFK and still win this fight. Yeah, I think at this point you buy time. You do get a bit of a piggy bank again, which is very important as Zerg, because one thing that Zerg will always have is that you're able to remax a little bit quicker way down the line than Protoss. You obviously want to have insanely good upgrades, like 6 Ultras, okay, with Kindness plating, and we need some regular armor upgrades as well, though. Kindness is good, but if it's like +0 regular carapace, I'm afraid they're still going to melt.
Yeah, that's definitely an important part of this that I think Spacey's kind of neglected here for a while. He's really tunneling also on this 3rd base with these Hydras against High Templar and this wall off. I really don't think that there's a lot of value for him to find here, but he's preoccupied with this big mothership army on the right, and it is looking like the Protoss has come knocking and is going to collect, because I don't know what he can do to stand toe-to-toe with this army.
These Hydras have done amazing over here on the left side, sniping Zealot after Zealot, sniping a High Templar as well. But yeah, that doesn't make this insane. Well, maybe the Ultras. Do we believe in miracles? Well, okay, that's a what is that? The panic recall? No, we didn't really get everything. So we leave a couple of High Templars behind. We leave a couple Archons behind. But yeah, the Hydras. If only they had dash, Bully, they would have been able to dash right underneath those Tempests and at least kill one of them.
I'm going to be honest with you. I think there's a non-zero chance that Old Man Spacey does not know that Hydra Dash exists.
You think he has? Nah, he's got to know. Everybody knows Hydra Dash is in there.
He's watching a game where the Hydras are zooming around, and he's thinking to himself, "Oh my God, this guy is hacking. He's playing with co-op Hydralisks."
Azura with his left behind army is still just kind of battling. Spacey's like, well, if there are so many units in the middle of nowhere, maybe I can fight the rest of the army. What he still needs, though, is N-tier. And yeah, a couple of Hydras are just not enough. We don't have any Vipers. I don't think Spacey has ever been the biggest Viper lover. I know that 2 Zergs are having an aneurysm when I say Vipers in a game like this. They're like, what is a Viper going to do? It's like, well, probably not a whole lot right now, but it doesn't mean that normally, in a different scenario, they're not good, right? Like a couple Blinding Clouds on the ground army to make those units derp, always great. Abduct, always solid. Even Parabomb on all these Tempests would be great.
Right. Yeah, I think Spacey does have the beginnings of an army that can contest this. Obviously, the Corruptor count is getting pretty healthy, but that being said, +2 air weapons is about to finish, and if microed correctly, Storm, Archon, Tempest definitely does not have a problem dealing with Corruptors. I do think that a couple of Vipers would be nice just to get some units when the Protoss is maybe distracted elsewhere. I don't think we need to fly these in over an Archon by themselves, though.
We've been pretty reckless with the Corruptors throughout the game. He also had those other Corruptors fly over the army. It's all good.
I think he's too used to using Mutas. Maybe that's it. He forgot they can't attack ground.
I mean, there is a world, of course, where if Banelings can actually somewhat connect with the ground army, activate a couple of these barriers on the Immortal, the Ultras come in from every angle. Like, there really is a world that Spacey takes a good fight. But I do feel 99 of 100 times we're going to need some spellcasting to be a part of that world. Without any spellcasters, I think the chance is like 1%. I'm afraid everything is just going to melt before it truly gets to fight. But it's still a bit scary for Azura as well. Strange map. Here we go, bully.
Yeah, the Corruptors come in from the back, try to get on top of the Tempest. The Storms start raining down, and the Archons get a few big shots. The Immortals getting absolutely obliterated by the... or the Ultralisks, rather, getting obliterated by the Immortals. But all the Tempests have died here, so maybe...
Zerglings
maybe a Ling Hydra. 4 more Mutas on the production tab. This man is a psychopath.
And in a way, right now it's not even the silliest thing ever, because there's no anti-air anymore. The only thing that Azura has left after that crazy fight... I mean, it's a lot of Immortals, but it's Immortals. It's got like 9 of them over here. So why not? Oh, he again only recalls like half his army. That is a 4 Immortal donation. I mean, that does start adding up, and we have to go back a little bit. Oh, caustic spray being used. What a banger. Spazymazy Mixu is one of my all-time favorite Big Brain Bout series. I will never forget about that one. This is starting to really turn into something, bully. We'll forget about that first and second series, as Spacey just took out the triangle and the topside base with those Corruptors. Now Azura is building Void Rays because he's upset at Corruptors. That's where the Mutas can shine again. This man is playing on the water 4D chess over here.
I cannot believe what I'm seeing. Spacey has completely and totally turned this game around, and a situation that honestly looked desperate for the Zerg, as the Protoss did have that sort of late game army that they dream of. Things are looking desperate in return for Azura. He's sitting at his monitor right now thinking to himself, Mamma mia, what happened? Because this Nexus is going to die once again, and the Protoss is being surrounded.
The Archons are still a bit of a problem. No cancel, I believe, on that Nexus. That is a kill. 400 minerals down the drain for an Azura who's already been low on workers. But what he did see now, I think, is a couple of Mutas show up. And he's like, wait a minute, I still have triple Stargate. I have +2 air weapons. I've got any impulse crit. Oh my, please. Spacey can still throw this too, by the way. If we start being reckless here, bully, it's Phoenix with +2 and any impulse crystals and Archon and Storm support. Spacey can still absolutely lose this too.
Yeah, and he's pinned in this dead space because the Mutas are flanked by the Blinkstalkers and Archons and the Phoenix. The Corruptors will give their lives to try to push back the Phoenix to allow the Mutas to escape. The ground army comes in now, but this is a great position for Azura to fight with very limited surface area for those Lings.
Hydras though from far. Corruptors coming in from the left. The Stormlands, the Phoenix are lifting. It is a box art fight over here as it comes down to the final units. Everything on the ground is melting on the side of Spazymazy. Now Stasis Trap runs out. That one Archon falls. We're running out of anti-air on the side of our Italian Protoss. Out of income, out of anti-air. Don't ask me how or why any of this worked, but after 25 minutes, our Danish Zerg, Spazymazy, finds a way to win Maganatha. Oh, I hate it. Now Magnath with his own map actually gives us the best game of the night. What a world am I living in? This is a simulation, bully. This can't be real. Not only does Magnath have his own map, it's the best game of the night. You kidding?
Exactly as I predicted. Spacey goes Mutas, and I saw it from minute 7. Let me just point out that's exactly how I pictured that game going, start to finish, and I will not hear otherwise. Spacey is my GOAT for a reason. It's because he gives us games like that.
Yeah, Azura had 2 very questionable recalls where he kind of like recalled half the army. Those didn't quite work. Also, his Tempest just disappeared, by the way, when those Corruptors came in that potentially, like we can call it in Hero Marina's words, the game-deciding fight in the bottom right. He had a mothership. The Immortals, they went untouched. It's almost like the Ultras were attacking the Tempest too, because we started with 6-7 Tempests, and they were just all gone immediately. And then the mothership dies, and then we only recall half of it out for the second time in that game. And one thing that you mentioned as well is that throughout the entire game, Azura's work account was kind of low. which is not necessarily always a bad thing if you're not able to expand a whole lot anyway, and if that's not the style you're playing. But if you never really gather a big bank and you're working with 55 probes, you lose one fight. The one time you move out, it's just like your life, right? It immediately is every move out is then a game deciding move out because you don't have the money to rebuild quickly enough.
Yeah, I think both players probably look at that last one and are wondering how they let it get that close because despite the blind counter on the mutas by Azura, the mutas still got quite a bit of damage, and despite the fact that theoretically the second muta switch should never work, it actually buys enough time for the ground army to get in a good position, the Corruptor snipe a couple bases. I mean, just absolutely bizarre start to finish. This is exactly the kind of thing that I predicted to happen in this series when I set this up. So very excited to see that come to fruition in a bizarre map 3 on Maganatha.
I'm sending a little whisper to Spazymazy. I was like, that was a really fun game, champ. By the way, I have a question. Do you know that Hydra Dash, or Launch as it's called right now, is a thing? He's like, wait, what? Hydras, they dash? I was like, yeah.
I told you.
I was like, it's a Hive Tech upgrade. He's like, but Roddy, that's Hive Tech. You know I don't do that. So, maybe he knows, maybe he doesn't, but anything on Hive Tech is not really meant for a Danish Zerg. He is a Lair Tech specialist that will get Hive Tech for some extra upgrades and maybe a sexy Ultra or two, but that's kind of it. None of this Hive Tech, Spellcaster, or Hydra Dash apparently.
We'll see if this man in the top right can turn it around. Down 1-2 Azura from Bing Bong Exports.
You know, Bully, I'm starting to believe that you were not the problem tonight. It was Gemini. At this point, he's asleep, so I think we could trash him. I think it was Gemini.
I think you're totally right. Listen, I have been saying for years at this point that Gemini is the problem, and it feels good to be vindicated. I'll be honest with you.
Bottom left side of Talisman in the lobby, Spazymazy says, what the hell is this map? It is our Danish Zerg fighting back for those beautiful Vikings over in Denmark. It is Spazymazy taking the 2-1 lead after a ridiculous game. And that was also kind of sad, is that I felt the map was so large and it was absolutely possible to sneak a few more Zealots or even DTs, right? I know you're a big DT lover. Because the bases of Spazy, they were not covered in spores and spines. Some of them had 1, a lot of them had 0. And the one time that we saw 3 Zealots run to the bottom left side, you saw how effective that was immediately. Bit of a shame that Azura didn't try that a little bit more. Like, I think of our man Heaven, who stopped by earlier as well. I almost feel that people have macro cycles, and Heaven has like a Zealot warp in cycle that he shift clicks to the other side of the map if he gets into a certain game like that. But I think it would have been really, really effective on such a large map where it's impossible for Spazy to have vision everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. On Maganatha in particular, after you get past 4 bases, the 5th and especially the 6th, they're just so far away that it's so difficult to keep track of everything, to keep vision everywhere. So especially considering he did get really good damage with those Zealot run-bys early on, it does feel like a bit of a missed opportunity. But we'll see if Azura on a slightly smaller map does kind of lock in a little bit, plays a more straightforward game, doesn't let himself get dragged into the clown fiesta that Spazy is more comfortable with.
We've got an Adept on the way, second gateway temporarily after Spazymazy did decide to make quite a few Zerglings early on and send them to the other side of the map. There is a worker path. Unfortunately, Zerglings cannot take advantage of this. Drone's good. I'm still waiting for the day that Bly makes a little comeback, sneaks a drone up, builds a random hatchery in the corner of the domain. Like, it's gotta happen, right? Like, this map is actually made for Bly.
I've lost a couple games on this map to, well, actually maybe just one to the proxy hatch in the main base. It is quite the technique. I do think that it's got some potential for some hidden pylon shenanigans as well. Proxy Marauder on the other side of these minerals at the triangle, where the Terran makes a reactor to allow them to mine out those 2 mineral patches. I've seen that done in the past. Just gives you a lot of options for for what our ATP co-caster Larimbo might call sheningas. His attempt to pronounce shenanigans.
How's Lorimbo doing? Is he still playing a little bit, or is he going all out on Age of Empires, or?
No, he is playing, and he's actually a captain this season in the All Things Protoss team league.
I saw him in the list, but I didn't know if that actually meant he was trying.
Yes, he is playing again, trying to get more active, brushing up a little bit, shaking off some of the rust, because I do think he wants to take the All Things Protoss Team League a little seriously and try to show good games for his fans, etc., etc. So we'll see what comes of that.
Almost, I feel like it's been generational trauma ever since he lost to Cobble. It's been tough to recover from that one. Huh?
That is a tough one. That is true. That could not have felt good for Larimbo, I'll be honest. But maybe he can redeem himself this time around. My team actually plays him week number 1, so we'll get a little bit of a temperature check on what they're working with.
So I know you guys had a draft, but then you had to redraft because there were some issues with the MMR. What is your team looking at right now? Like, what is Team Bully?
So we didn't actually have to redraft. We just had a couple of issues. There was a couple like small misunderstandings about what was going on, but we actually got it sorted out pretty quickly. Didn't have to redraft. We just had to make a couple of very small adjustments to the pools. Players were obviously very okay with that. They kind of know at this point that most people are doing their best just to make this as fair as possible. So I ended up on Team Goblin. The other players on my team include Jackie, a Vietnamese Protoss, Tixt, who is a North American Zerg, a little bit of an older player too. He's 42. He's got a family, but he's just really interested. He thought the league was very fun. He seems really passionate. He also was at DreamHack Dallas with his clan, the Formless Sloth Bears, featuring people like Dine Common as well, who's played in the past Big Brain Bout against ZG.
Played against ZG, exactly.
Yeah, so he's just really excited. And then we've also got Franz, who's also a USA Protoss. So I'm really excited. The team is just full of good guys, and I'm excited to see what happens.
What was the overall feeling for the strongest team in the league after the draft? Did you guys discuss power ranking?
I think Team Hydra is probably a team which is considered to be pretty strong right now. That's Hydra, Luolis, Enpo, Marsbar, and Takua.
Ooh, big. So I see nothing but legends on that team.
Yeah, there's a lot of legends on that team. I think they've definitely got potential to go far, but past seasons have shown that expectations are not everything. My team last season was almost universally picked to be the worst team in the league, and we ended up being undefeated the entire season and winning it all.
Nice surround over here, by the way, by Spazymazy, as these adapts do have resonating glaives, but they take a lot of damage. Azura wasn't certain if we want to shit out in, what do we want to do? In the end, he is going to lose the vast majority of these adapts, if not all of them. Over here in the corner of the main, we have that Oracle that has continued to be a real thorn in the side of Spazymazy, dropping Stasis Trap after Stasis Trap. Overall, though, just trading out Zerglings for 10 adepts with glaives. You gotta be feeling pretty good about that if you're Spazymazy. What I'm a tiny bit worried about, though, is we have a lot of links, we have roaches, now we're going Hydras. I almost think that maybe the Roach Ling Ravager would be better than Hydras here.
Yeah, I think this is a little bit of a kind of kitchen sink moment for Spacy, who's sort of not sure exactly what he wants this comp to look like. I don't think that at this level, Roach Hydra is probably the most effective thing that I could imagine, especially against this composition. But as I say that, we're only moving out with a single immortal here, the second one waddling behind to try to catch up. So we'll see what Spacy can do here. This army, I think, does have a little window where it's pretty scary for the Zerg to deal with, but once we start getting a few more Hydras out, maybe finish Hydra range, I think Spacy could defend this. Losing the Queens to start, though, is not a good start.
No, that is rough. That spine is actually going to be very useful, and Queens are very tanky, and one of them is actually still alive. Couple force fields go down. Zerglings on the other side of the map got dealt with because we have double battery and, of course, still a lot of gateways to work with. I think Spacy should be fine here, but he really needs to bring all the units together. Lings, they need to go for the wraparound. They are looking for that surround. They will get that surround. That is a beautiful hold in the end by Spazymazy, who forced that defensive warp in. But Zerglings are incredibly quick, so the moment that a Protoss warps in a bunch of units at home, those units will never make it in time to the battle at the same pace as those Zerglings do. So well done by Spacey. That was legitimately well handled. Losing the Queen's scary, but outside of that, nothing but great plays coming out of our Danish legend over here.
Yeah, Azura, I think, kind of forgetting that these rocks were here blocking him off. He tried to send the Adepts here to shade over to the natural, but realized the rocks were still there. He does lose those 5 Adepts, but it does buy him a little bit of time here. Though, as I say that, the time that it bought might not be very sufficient because a Nidus network is going up for Spacey.
Yep, Nidus coming online. There's definitely some dead space, I will say. This is a map with a relatively large main base. It's going to be hard to have vision everywhere. If you're thinking about it, yeah, of course you're going to space all your pylons. You'll have vision, or worst comes to worst, you put a little Zealot or an Adept on patrol. Not sure, like I feel like a Nidus is just so random here. I don't love this Zergling fight, by the way, at all. That seemed incredibly out of sync. We have slow Roaches and slow Hydras in the middle of nowhere. And we just walked 40 Zerglings into a Adept Immortal Zealot meat grinder.
Yeah, not ideal. This War Prism is going to be intercepted relatively quickly, but there's not a lot of units in position right now to deal with it, so these Glaive Adepts do have a little bit of potential to get some damage. Azura buying a little bit of time, continuing to force the Zerg to just be honest here. Keeping him back is nice. +1 finally finishing, so the upgrades on either side looking relatively even, but there is that Nidus, and it's just out of vision of this pylon.
Cast is still pretending the game isn't over. In what way exactly would you say that it's so Omega over? It's like, yeah, Spazymazy has a 9 worker lead and a 30 army supply lead. It is slow Roaches, mate. He's got Roaches without the Zergling speed. Don't do that, by the way, Caterpillar, because that triggers me. We do have a couple of Roaches and Hydras and Zerglings in the main. Now the Zealots are derping like no tomorrow. Not the prettiest fight over here by Azura. I mean, he's pulling a
the
pie.
Fight on the south side goes horrifically, though, for Spacey. So he may be able to recall here. Oh, recall is off cooldown. Would love to see those units get recalled to the main, but he's walking them instead as the Zealot, or Adept run by rather, at the linear 4th goes well. We get a couple of drones. We buy some time. We force the army back.
Warpins. Sweet baby, Jesus bully. We have lost 84 Zealots trying to get on top of 5 Hydras over here.
Yeah, the Sim City is not working in our favor. We're continuing to warp in behind the Hydras, and it looks like they will eventually be cleaned up here, but the loss is pretty significant for the Italian Protoss, who's reduced to a pretty paltry economy here.
Yeah, 48 rounds ain't pretty, and we don't have Storm this time, right? Often Storm is the great equalizer, especially against Laertec Zerg. Like, I will always believe in Storm, Immortal Archon against Laertec Zerg, but we don't have Storm. Spazymazy is still pulling a pie over here, where he's got 13 Roaches, 12 minutes into the game, no Roach speed. Also, we're dropping a Spire because we are Spazymazy, and that is just what we do. Isn't there a chance that Azura just fully sends it off 3 bases with a big old powerful Protoss army before that Spire ever comes online?
I think there's definitely a non-zero chance. I do think that, like I said earlier, you know, Roach Hydra, not exactly the world's greatest composition, especially when Roaches don't even have speed. +2 missile attacks is about to finish, so that will give an added boost to this army, but I do think that if Azura is going to win this game, it needs to be right now.
How do you not realize this? I know that I maybe just got into his head with Hydra Dash. He's like, man, Hydras, they can be so quick. And now he's like, just completely ignoring the fact that these Roaches are so slow. I'm honestly not sure Roach Hydra smashes this fight. Normally it shoots sniping the Prism, though, with a couple of units flanking is a great play. And that might be exactly what Spazymazy needed there. Because a few extra Zealots could really complicate things. Now we're going to try to recall some Immortals out, but all but 2 of them fall. What a snipe, man. A couple of Hydras from the high ground going down that ramp. Beautiful snipe.
Oh, it was always going to be an uphill fight after the Nidus kind of threw Azura off. It does feel like, though, he's just... it's just a little too late for him to muster the defense. There's no Storm. There's barely any Immortals remaining. It's +2 missile attacks. And here come the Mutas. At this point, more for insult than injury, I think, by Spacey.
16 Mutas and a Nidus at the same time. No Roach speed. That one Oracle still alive. 11 kills, has dropped a lot of good stasis trappies throughout the game. But yeah, Azura just too hard stuck right now, right on 3 bases. 3 bases is just not going to do it.
There's not even any units in this Nidus, so that Scream of the Nidus were more psychological damage than anything else.
The Lynx will get us around on the 2 Zealots and in the end win it. Azura might be able to get some final satisfying Archon hits off. Okay, Zealot run, my man. Every time we see little Zealot pokes, they're so successful. But because Azura has such a hard time like going up to 4 or 5 bases, he just can't throw away too many units. I do understand that feeling where you feel like, well, my army's already tiny. I'm not gonna grab 5 Zealots, run them to the other side of the map, in risk of them just getting picked off too. I would have loved to see this game made if he had Storm and 5 High Templars now. If he had it before or now, it'd be a walk in the park.
Yeah, I think so. But I think just unfortunately there's no good options here for the Protoss. He's gonna try to clean up this Night of Storm one more time, but with the Overseer there, he can just plant it again if he wants to. He can't address the mutas while also addressing the ground army. The Zealot run-bys have been very successful, but harassing costs you resources, and there's just not enough resources to go around here.
The mutas are looking at a very empty natural, and at that point, as a Zerg, you also know that this one should be in the bag. Nothing can really go wrong anymore. We're gonna make a few more slow roaches as a proper final tribute to Pi. Everybody loves Pi. No matter what game we're playing. We've had 19, we're gonna go up to 19 slow roaches, and we've lost 23. So 42 roaches in this game we made. Man, look at this fight, by the way, because the roaches are so slow, they're not gonna be able to get a lot of shots off. They have an incredibly hard time. This is a horrific fight for Spazymazy. It shouldn't matter, because he's so far ahead. He's like, man, roaches really suck. I'm gonna go into Hydras. I need more Hydras. Like, well, we're kind of missing a key upgrade for the roach. Oh,
maybe this was all part of the plan. You just save that gas to be able to make more mutas. Although at this point, I think when you're banking 3K, 1K, you could probably afford to squeeze out a roach speed upgrade at this point.
I want to see the mutas just fight these Archons. Why not? Give us a show.
I think at this point you could actually afford to throw all of them away and probably still close it out. So why not give us a cheeky little 30 mutas dying to 2 Archons moment, just for the fans.
Azura's just kind of wandering back and forth with a couple of Archons, a couple of Immortals, and that is really it. His army ain't growing. He doesn't really have the money. Ooh, Archon hits! Yes, give us those good Archon hits. We may not win the game, but at least we can take down a couple of mutas on our way out. The GG gets called. Spazymazy from Denmark gets a 3-1 victory. He wins 100 buckies on this beautiful Friday night. Azura will still get 25 bucks. And I gotta say, Bully, it was Gemini, mate. This was a perfectly fine series. Sure, didn't go 3-2, but some fun, long games, some drama, some back and forth, a lead change in the middle of the series. This had it all, mate. This is what we're looking for.
That is exactly right. I think Azura also could have very, very easily won the game on Maganatha with a few different decisions. Yeah. So I'm very happy with how that one went, especially considering Spacy was a little bit of the favorite there. Nothing to be ashamed of there for Azura.
Ooh, a perfect 50-50 in the end, by the way. I guess that had a little bit to do with Azura taking the 1-0 lead. But cheating does not always get rewarded. We say it time and time again, guys. Best of 5s are long. Somebody taking the 1-0 lead. Someone has to take the 1-0 lead. If I didn't put a handicap for the series, it means it's close. That's really not the end of the world. Spacy ends up winning it. He gets the 100 buckies, of course, provided by Basilisk, and that means that we have one final series, our main event of the evening. 2 boys with a Team Roddy pass, but I had nothing to do with the matchmaking tonight, guys. So before somebody is like, Roddy always favors his old players. No, I had nothing to do with it. This was all Bully, and Bully will give you his reasoning for this being the main event after our break. How does that sound, Bully?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Alright, Fjant is of course a Swedish Zerg. Hydra is our Dutch Protoss player. I'll make it 15 minutes. Big series for both of these gamers. Sure, they've been around. Sure, they've gone to a couple of offline events. But playing a single best of 5 on the Friday night with 200 bucks on the line in total. These are very cool opportunities for people that play Starcraft at this level. So hopefully we get to see the very best of them. I'll give my thoughts as well after the break. We'll go ahead and grab ourselves one more German beer. I recently had a German friend visit my house. He always leaves a couple beers behind. And it looks cool, but I feel like eventually I'm going to have to go through them, right? So, what better moment to go through a couple beers than the Friday night? I can't think of any. Thank you guys for stopping by. I hope you guys are having fun with this All Things Protoss Big Brain Bouts. And I'll see you guys in a couple of minutes. Be right back.